So as Jeff just mentioned, this webinar, and I as well, this webinar will be recorded and in the future, in the near future, shared in our YouTube channel. That is YouTube/OISF-Suricata. I don't know where YouTube channel. Yeah, that's it. OISF-Suricata. Let's wait a couple more minutes while we see if more folks join us live today. Oops, spoilers. Jose, how long have you known Suricata? I'm curious.
It's been a couple of years, I think 2, probably 3 years, and I've been using it occasionally, both at my home network and also at work. It's interesting with the platform. I really like it. I was a user of Snort before actually using Suricata, and one of the reasons I switched is because the performance of Suricata is better. It was designed to be multi-threaded from the get-go, and documentation is also very, very good. And the installation is actually quite simple. And is the way the rules or the way you define the rules to analyze events or anything that goes on your network is actually quite flexible. So you will be surprised that it's not only used for intrusion detection, but also to analyze the contents of regular traffic over your network and tell you if an application is not behaving up to par or stuff like that. So I won't be surprised that there are many use cases out there on the wild that people are using Suricata for totally different purpose than just detecting intruders on the network. So because it's that flexible.
Awesome. You do know how to please your hosts. Good job. Thanks. I'll invite you to write one of our marketing pitches, because that was some very nice words. We are 2 minutes past, and that's when I said we would be starting. So let's go. Once again, everybody who has joined us today, welcome to our last episode of this Pre-SuriCon webinar series. This is an idea that occurred to us once we realized we had a record number of talk submissions for SuriCon 2024, and as much as we tried, we could not fit all of them in our 3 days agenda. So we've decided to invite some of the speakers for webinars. We try to focus on those who would benefit from a longer format, such as the case of Jose today. And we also thought this would be a great way of building up the hype for the upcoming 10th SuriCon, which is something very great for us to achieve. We have invited all of the speakers to join us in Madrid this year. Unfortunately, Jose will not be able to join us, but if you watch the webinars and you like what you see, and you join us in Spain, that is, you will also be able to reach live to some of the speakers. Before we get started, a few words about OISF, also known as Open Information Security Foundation, which is the maintainer of Suricata. It is a US-based nonprofit, and it is organized to build community and to support open source security technologies like Suricata. Funding for our project comes from donations from world-class security organizations committed to our mission. And if you'd like to become one or know more about our consortium members, do check our page for that. If by some mysterious reason you've joined us today but don't know what Suricata is, we are an open source threat detection and network analysis software that can be used on the cloud and on-premise to protect your resources. We are used by lots of both private and public organizations to protect their assets. And as Jose Munoz has explained very well, it can be used in a lot of different use cases. To know more, check our features page. suricata.io/features. Once again, I would like to thank Jose Nunez for joining us today, and Jeff Lukowski, who is my co-host. He is also from the OISF. You might have watched talks by him or trainings. He will be taking care of our Q&A. If you have questions, do share them in the Q&A session for us to have something more organized. And without further ado, please, Jose, thanks again for joining us.
Hello, everybody. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I mean, this is actually very exciting to be here and have a chance to get in touch with other people that use Suricata and they write software around the tool. So this is, well, I will start explaining why I decided to write something on top of all the tools that come with Suricata, and also why Linux, why Python, and the whole rationale behind it. And then probably you will get excited about it, and you will probably clone the Git repository and start hacking it and reporting bugs, and you know, then things will get even more interesting. Well, let me start first sharing the screen. Let's see how that goes. And okay, looks like it worked. Yeah.
It's working, yes.
Okay, now how do I put this guy into full screen mode? Oh, lost the presentation mode. Well, I think I can even do with the slides this way. Let's see. So first of all, let me introduce myself a little bit more formally. I promise I won't be long on this because this is the boring part. So I am a system administrator, DevOps, and I also write software, and I've been doing that for quite some time. I started working as a system administrator when I was in college. I graduated as a system engineer from Universidad de los Andes in Mérida, Venezuela. And then eventually I came to the United States and I started working on a startup, and then I moved to other companies. Since then, I mean, since the first day that I started working as a system administrator or DevOps, back in the day, they didn't call it like that. I was using Slackware. That was one of the, probably some of you guys got a chance to get your hands dirty with that Linux distribution that used tar files to package the software. That's how simple it was back then. And then, of course, I met Perl, and I love it. I mean, I never quite got or understood how it was possible for a programming language to have so many ways of doing things. And it was like perfect. I mean, I felt like a fish in the water, like really, really comfortable using Perl to automate solutions and solve problems. Eventually, I discovered Python, and I saw that the Python community had a lot of support, and the way the language was envisioned was so flexible that you could use it not just for system administration, but also you can write web applications, desktop applications, you can write server-side applications that deal with machine learning and a bunch of other stuff. And it's kind of like a Swiss knife army sort of things, very, very versatile. And also, and not to throw some shade on Perl, but I was waiting for Perl to evolve, and we never got Parrot or Perl 6, while Python kept evolving. So it was somehow an easy decision just to move to Python, especially because of the community and the tools around it. That's pretty much in a nutshell, like my experience with Linux and Python, and how I got involved into this. And of course, all this is possible because of open source. And you probably guys already got the hint by Suricata being open source, and you can download it, start using it right away. There is documentation and really nice community behind it. And the same happens for Linux, the same happens for Python, and the same happens for all the bunch of tools that were built on top of that. So it's like kind of like all these things together allow you to write something bigger and better in a very short time. Suricata, again, Diana explained that really well what the tool is, so I'm not gonna repeat myself here, but it's the way, or my main usage was for as an intrusion detection system. What it does, it just analyzes or captures the network traffic or can replay also the network traffic and then can look for patterns and then can generate alerts and events and tell you if something is not okay. Of course, you can use Suricata not just for as an intrusion detection system, but you can also use it to keep track of how your applications are behaving. And based on your own rules, you can determine if there is something not working appropriately or everything is okay. And again, it's open source, really well maintained, full community. So, you know, that's that about Suricata. Now, one of the things that you have with Suricata is that at the very beginning, it's a little bit intimidating. Not because it's a poorly written piece of software, but because the amount of information that you can get from the events. So especially if you can say the output of the Suricata events in several formats. You can, for example, connect to a Redis database and store it remotely. You can save that into a log file and the list goes on. It's very flexible. And when the time comes to start looking for patterns or anomalies or trying to figure out what's wrong, opening a JSON file, a multi-line JSON file is probably not the prettiest side. So there are tools out there that can help you to deal with that complexity. And one of them is called JQ. It's incredibly cool tool. Like you can put complex expressions and you can reduce the structure of your original JSON. You can filter, you can do transformations, and that allows you to query and get familiar with the data and share that information with your either other people that is working with you or help you to find out what's wrong with your system in case that you suspect that is something wrong. Now, if you are like me, you eventually will start repeating the JQ recipes and saving them into small scripts. Bash, C shell, whichever is your favorite. And you will start making them more and more complex and adding features and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden you have a collection of bash scripts and you probably didn't got quite familiar with the things that JQ could do because you were in a hurry and you didn't have time to go deep with the tool, which is perfectly fine. At the end of the day, we want to solve a problem and we want to use the tool that can let us get the results the quickest way possible. So I love JQ. You should use JQ if you have a chance to use it. But I ended writing something for me because I was a little bit lazy and I wanted to have a way to get the same results quickly using a text application, something that was easy to install and was easy to run anywhere I wanted without too much complications about the requirements. And that's where the whole thing started. So I named it, not very originally, of course, SuricataLog. I didn't come up, probably you should have come up with a more catchy name, but I just wanted to get the code up and working, and then I started experimenting and okay, let's see how I can do this and that. So that's more or less the origin. So I just want to go on this presentation to a few things. Before we get into the tool. One of them is just show you real quick how to install Suricata in case you haven't done it. Again, the documentation is superb and it's going to tell you exactly how to do that. Then how to install SuricataLog, and then how you can check if actually Suricata is working properly, because you want to play with it and you want to be able to see events and query and do all sorts of stuff. And then how you can run some of the scripts. SuricataLogs is not just a single script, but it's a collection of the scripts that allows you to dive deep into the data and how you can run some of those. And I want to show you the source code. I want to explain you how the whole framework works, and you will see that there is a lot of patterns and reuse of those patterns to make building these applications very easy. And I want to talk a little bit about the things that made SuricataLog possible. So again, this is explaining the documentation. I won't do a live demonstration of this, especially because live demonstrations of installing software never go well. So I bought my insurance and I did this, and you can trust me that this is actually going to work really well. You need elevated privileges. And by the way, I use both Debian and Fedora as the Linux distributions to run Suricata. in this case, I'm running Suricata, and for this demonstration, I'm running it on a Raspberry Pi 4, running Fedora. So it's like super tiny. It has a network card dedicated just to capture the traffic, blah, blah, blah. And to install an RPM, you need to have a elevator filter. And for that, you need something called Fido. The Fido will allow you to install all the required RPMs, all the configuration files that come with it. Then you can start tweaking the basics. Especially, there is something very important on Suricata, which is called the home network. And you need to tell Suricata, like, look, this is the network IP address range that belongs to you. And that's how you're gonna detect events on your network. And after that, you decide what plugins you wanna install. And for that, I just literally install a few of the free and open source ones on a loop, updated the rules, double check the configuration again, started Suricata as a service, and I also installed Wireshark, which is another open source tool that I really hope that you guys get this one. Just in case you don't know about it, we have tools like CPDOM that allows you to capture raw data from the network interfaces. Wireshark is a tool that goes a little bit further and provides you tools to capture the data and analyze the data, and this is really powerful filters for capturing and also filters to display or replay the data. So when you are not sure if anything is actually really fishy with your network, you can start with Wireshark and you're gonna get a lot of information for free. So it's highly recommended. It's like, I really believe that Suricata and Wireshark definitely go together on a basic installation here. So keep that in mind. Then now let's move to the process of installing Suricata. I'm not gonna do this part either. I'm just gonna show you Suricata install on a virtual environment, but the installation is trivial. First, I'm not sure what is the level of Python of all the attendees, so I'm gonna assume that it's actually quite basic. So I'm gonna explain just a little bit what a virtual environment is and why we should install it that way. So in Python, you have the option to install packages globally, so it's available for all the users. You can install it for a single user. That's one option called pip-user, or you can create a virtual environment, which means that you make Python believe that the installation is global, but it's actually confined on a specific location. The virtual environment has the advantage that you can install different softwares with different dependencies, and there will be no collision between them. So you can have different libraries, you can experiment and try different software, and when you're done, if you don't like something, you just get rid of the virtual environment, and nothing happens to your Linux installation. I mean, there is nothing more tedious than having software working before you install it in a library by accident, and then everything else breaks except the step that you install it brand new. So for Suricata, I recommend two things. SuricataLog, sorry. I recommend two things. One, there is no need to run this as a super user, as long as you can read the SuricataLog file. Running it as a super user will open the installation for attack. There's nothing fancy on SuricataLog, but still it's a good idea to run it with the minimum amount of permissions necessary. If you can run the Suricata event log, so I will show you later soon. You're good enough. Suricata is literally just a tool. SuricataLog is a tool just to get those logs, show the contents, and then do some digging. No, you don't need anything special to do that. Or you can install it globally, but run it as a non-privileged user. This is what I'm showing on the slide. Like you can become a super user, install Suricata on a virtual environment still, then log out from that from the super user, and then you can ask your users to just activate the virtual environment, and that way you will get access to SuricataLog. And you know, it will be read-only, and you can share the installation with all the users, more than one user that is interested.
Jose, I have a question. This is for me. Two things. I guess this is at GitHub somewhere, and we'll see that link in a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. And
okay. And also, what kind of licensing is around this? Is this a BSC style license or?
That's a very good question. Believe it or not, I forgot. I believe I used NetGPL, but I used Apache. Oh, by the way, sorry, I don't know if you can you guys see the
Okay.
let me see if I can make it bigger. That's not.
Okay, I cannot read that.
But you know what? I can share it, I think, on the chat. Let me try that.
Thanks. That helps.
That's the best. All right.
I'll take advantage of the fact that Jeff has interrupted you to ask that you maybe try to move to presentation mode, because then any screenshots and everything looks bigger, and then it's easier for everyone to see.
Oh, there you go. There.
It's not helping you, right?
No, it's refusing to do it. I knew that one of these guys will not cooperate today.
Yeah, if it's, I don't know. Does F5 works? I remember in some software F5 would go to presentation mode.
Yeah, let me try that. I think what's going on is that Zoom and LibreOffice are fighting for control. That's my suspicion, but you know, I don't want to point fingers on anybody.
It's good then. No worries. Let's focus on the content, because that's what's more important.
Yeah, so I'm gonna switch to more to more fun stuff right now. So let's assume for the sake of this that we got the Suricata software working and everything is actually good, and we just want to see what's going on. So Suricata on the documentation, and let me. Oh, now look at this. Now we have the full screen presentation. I love it. Okay. Where we are. Okay, so this is the installation, just in case people didn't get a chance to see the super small fonts before. These are the steps. And again, it's just like 12 steps, more or less, depending on what Linux distribution you're using. You need elevated privileges to get it working. And this is just like to get, in my opinion, the bare minimum, something that is going to capture events on the network and get you going to start kicking the tires and see how Suricata works. And the plugins that I installed, they are the open source and they detect a wide variety of attacks. So they're pretty good, but there is a lot of libraries out there that you can try. And also, if you have the source of these rules, you can actually learn yourself how you can make it happen. Now, moving on, the part that we're talking about installing data, again, to create a virtual environment. In this case, I am doing that with a super user account, just to have a read-only installation after that can be used for all the users that log into this specific machine. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier is that you don't need to install SuricataLog together with Suricata. If you have access to the logs, you copy those to an offline storage. So you can do an FTP. It pretty much SuricataLog only cares about being able to open a file. That's it. So they don't need to install, they don't need to run on a machine where it's already probably being heavily utilized by Suricata recording like that. So that's that. And well, we're gonna do this live, but the way it works is that Suricata on my specific use case is that it saves, without any modifications, saves the events and alerts on a file called e.json. And it's normally lives on var log Suricata. And what you do is that you can open the file with an editor like Bing or Emacs, and then you can have a heart attack because it's really verbose. Or you can use JQ and start playing with some recipes, which I'm going to share the link shortly, and then get like a nice out with the proper indentation and queries and stuff like that. Or what we'll see shortly, you can use the SuricataLog. For the demonstration, this is something you can try at home. I'm just going to touch this quickly. There is a really cool site called malwaretrafficanalysis.net. These guys, they've been collecting pickups, capture traffics from malware across the internet. And of course, comes with a big disclaimer that you are playing with matches. Don't run yourself. Like, do not run this on a production network. Do not run this within the super user because it's malware. And when you if you decide to replay this into your network interface, you are basically putting the virus live on the system. So Suricata has a cool way to deal with this kind of data. Instead of just replaying the stuff on real time, you can actually tell Suricata to replay the traffic from the pickup file, and nothing will touch the network interface. And the reason I'm doing this is because I wanted to have something interesting to show, like some real malware during some events. My network is pretty boring, and nobody will try to hack my tool Raspberry Pi, so that's why I decided to pick this nasty piece of malware and capture it and run it to Suricata. Again, you can see the link, you don't know it, you won't zip it. It's password protected because they don't want people to randomly burn themselves. If you are doing that, it means that you really know what you're doing, and then we can get started and have some fun with the market.
Jose, before we go to the next slide, or could
Yeah,
you move
let me go back.
your webinar? Can you move the webinar chat window? It's overlaid on top of the presentation for us.
Sorry. Let me apologies. Closing that. There you go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Got it. And yes, now you can see the full the whole link and everything. It's not obscured by this window. Sorry for that. Okay. So the next step that I mentioned before is that you can take the pickup file for, and not just its bad traffic, but any traffic, and you can tell Suricata to replay it. And for that, you just run Suricata with the -r flag. And what it does, it will just read the contents from the pickup file and will run it through using the rule set that you configured before. And the -l option here tells you, I want to save the JSON file on this directory. So anything that you want to return with traffic is gonna get saved there. And then you can analyze it and see what happened. And we're gonna do that shortly with JQ, and specifically from the JSON file, you are looking for a tag that is called alerts. Those are like the indication that Suricata detected something that is not okay when we went through the rules and replayed the pickup tag. And okay, I'm gonna actually something nice finally. Yes. And let me share first. Okay, just to confirm, can you guys see my browser here?
Your mouse, yes.
Okay, and basically the Suricata website has really good documentation, as I said before, and it comes with a set of recipes that you can use to just get the contents or analyze the contents of the id.json file quicker. So feel free to browse through that. I replicated all, I think, if not all of these recipes on my Python code because I wanted to see, okay, how far I can get the tool to behave as a JQ and the recipe. And so let's play with some of that. So right now I am logged on my Raspberry Pi, and I have a JSON file on this directory, and it has the contents of the malware that I replayed before. So if you open that with Vim, it doesn't look that bad because Vim, for example, has nice colorization, but I am hardly tempted to say that you probably only will start exploring a JSON file by hand, like probably once or twice, and you will get really tired of doing this, especially when you're looking for alerts. Like you can search and then, oh my God, okay, yes, I got an alert, but then look at all the fields, and there are sub-nested messages. So that's not probably the best way to do it. So, for example, with JQ, you have recipes that you can tell the tool, look, I want to get tons of that JSON file, and I want to filter just the information that I want. One of my favorites is that the malware carries payloads, and it comes encoded on UU64, so it can be embedded into the JSON. So one way to get the contents out is to call this long recipe on JQ pointing to the JSON file. And
What's
again,
that?
can you see it, or it's not? It's too small. Oops.
It's very small. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
was going to.
Yeah, let
If
me.
you could enhance the font size, because it's, maybe I just need better glasses, but it's difficult
No,
for
no,
me.
believe me, I think actually I can do better. Let me see how I can.
I know there is a plane. Do you remember, Jeff, where it is? Oh, you are a Mac user. These mac and cheese users,
No, there is a way to get this video that was happening. Definitely, they don't like to show it. How I can make it better?
used to be, in my terminal, there's like
Control plus, but this is not working for me.
maybe it's maybe the zoom controls are over. In my case, there's like a 3 rows button that says that where I can increase the font size or the zoom actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it still be somewhere in here, but preference.
There
Did
it
you
is.
check
Zoom
if
in. It's right there.
Control
Control plus plus.
Control plus plus. All right, let's try that. Come on.
not working? Maybe.
There you go.
Aha. Awesome.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now we
Thank
see
you.
things.
Yeah, so yeah, keep coming definitely like that. Okay, so coming back to the syntax. So if you can let me highlight that. So you can see here that JQ allows you to get just part of the JSON, and then just get one part of the sub message, which is the payload. And then you can try to decode this with U64, but the result may not be good because you will get binary data on the screen. So this is probably better to do against a file and using a script. Now, I want to show you something, and again, it's not to portray on JQ, that JQ, when you're experimenting, you will get sometimes that the expressions, there are limitations, and you will get sometimes chunks of the data that do not have data, and you will get nulls. And if you're scripting, you need to take this into your consideration, that you don't want to get like a garbage into the script. Like if it has a payload, then show it. Otherwise, don't even bother. So I'm gonna jump ahead and I'm gonna show you one of the scripts that this is SuricataLog, called if_JSON. And I did something similar. I just wrote something to show the payload of the JSON file. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna call my guy now. Load, and let's point to the JSON. And let's see, come on, there you go. Oh, so now we got something that looks a little bit better. So it's telling me that it found faithful messages with payload, not the whole output of the file, right? And it's actually doing a little bit of formatting on the screen, so you can actually get an idea that's going on. And not only shows the payload, but also shows you that where that stuff came from. Like, okay, what is the source, the destination, all the stuff like that. But for me, this was a game changer because I already wanted to get the contents of the payload or the payloads from the JSON file, and I could get them nicely. And it's also nice that you can go back and forth with the messages and start looking at what you got and what is not in there. So this is just a little improvement over JQ. The best part of that is that if you notice, I only have to remember now that I have a script that I can call with one argument, and it's gonna do that heavy lifting for me. So this specific part of SuricataLog is what I call the CAN reports. And it's the same examples that you see on the website of Suricata, but instead of using JQ, it's using MyFlow. So let's do another one. For example, I want to see the DNS domains involved in all the process. So, domain. So now I just want to get the DNS out to see it. And then we wait a little bit, and it's telling me, okay, look, just these are the domain names that you got here, and what was the record, a records, and everything that you want to know only about DNS. So if you notice, I'm already filtering out information that I don't care. So, for example, these reports are going to tell me that you got content. Okay. It's not that I don't see. And I don't have to remember how to do it. I'm just letting this guy, you know what, do it, and I trust it. Just make sure that you're filtering the stuff nicely for me. And it also comes with you know, it's easier on the eye to see. What else is interesting here? Oh, well, user agent. I mean, like that. There wasn't any browser involved into all this malware going back and forth. So we can check what is the top agent, and then it's telling me that what's happening for that actually happens on that day or about day, and it goes in malware. Now,
Sir,
yes.
sorry for being very interrupty, but I'm getting your voice muffled sometimes. Could you please check in your Zoom audio settings if maybe your microphone volume is set to automatically be adjusted? In the Zoom, maybe.
Yeah, let me try that.
On the top of the control bar, all the way to the left, there should be there's the mic, then there's the set arrow. Yeah. Can you see any configuration settings for it? Audio settings all the way down.
Yeah, I see it.
And there's this
volume
blue check. There's a blue check that says automatically adjust microphone volume.
Yeah, you want me to uncheck
yeah.
that?
Yeah, let's see how that goes. I'm sorry, it's just
How does it sound now? Better?
now it's very loud.
Oh,
But
very
might
low?
be just for me. Loud. Let's see how that goes. Sorry for interrupting, but sometimes it's better to try to solve things so everyone can hear us well. Okay, no. There's echo now. Do you hear any echoes, Jeff? Echo?
A little bit, yeah.
How is it now? Please, Jose, speak to us. No, okay, that's worse. Let's go back to the previous setting. Folks, live stuff is like that. There's maybe adjust the input volume.
You know what? The installation is the background noise.
That created a lot of noise. Sorry. Just one more thing. Okay, you adjusted the output volume. Let's try like that, not to disturb your presentation any longer. Let's just go.
Okay.
And then we adjust as possible. Folks, sorry, but live stuff is like that. Machines don't always behave like we want to. They usually don't. It's just life.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the that I think you what I think is the series that like one of the things that we the very beginning is to open the file, right? Okay, so something like this. We can do of course is the whole file and then once let it search and stuff around like some of the files and then can move forward. But I saw that I wanted to have something a little bit higher. So the dog that is already on the SuricataLog, and you only need to have the location of the SuricataLog. And there we go. Now we have all the data from the logs in a nice table that you can scroll and basically see all the things that you have working. Now, it doesn't stop there like that. I wanted to be able to search because a lot of times you have a lot of data, right? So how do I start searching? If I press,
Jose, I'm sorry. Whatever setting we did, if we could undo it because it's muddled almost all of the time now. Sorry about this.
I would suggest maybe lowering a bit the input volume. Yeah, that one, that input lowering, making, yeah, not a bit louder, just a bit, I guess. No, louder, a bit more.
A bit more to the right.
Yeah,
the right?
just a
Yeah,
bit,
maybe
yeah.
there.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that sounds good. Literally sounds good. And maybe click again on the automatically. What do you think, Jeff? Do we keep automatically adjusting or not?
Yeah, let's go ahead and try that too, because that's the way it was a little while ago.
So you want to go back to this setting?
Yeah. Let's
Okay.
see how that goes. And once again, sorry for the interruptions.
No, not a problem. Let's do this. How does it sound now?
Better.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. No problem. So,
We can hear you better now, and
Yeah.
that's what matters because we are here for that.
So coming back to this, right? So now you can see that it's actually easier to see the data because I know I can sort by timestamp, I can sort by severity or the signature, or even by the protocol. I mean, I just need to click the column or the destination. I can do a bunch of things. Now, part of the exploratory part is that I want to start searching for maybe IP addresses, source of destination, stuff like that. So you can do that. You have the bar here, so you can click it, or you can just press Ctrl +space. And then you can start typing. Say that I know the IP address that I'm looking for. Just making stuff up, but I think it's 52.996.222.130 in the 425. But that's the source that I wanna examine. So if you start typing here, this filter already reduces the range of options where you can start looking, and then you can start exploring, and then you can just remove it, and then you go back, you get presented default options, but you can get fancy or you know what, actually, I want to go by destination and do this. So say that this is actually what we want. I wanted to see what happened when the packets went to this location, right? Then you click on it, and it's going to get you just the event that matches with it. Everything else will get ignored. So that way you don't get distracted and you can start actually looking, okay, this probably that is affecting my network or no. And you can close it. You can go back to the search again, and you can search for something else. You know what? Actually, I want to search for protocol. It says MTP. Okay, who's gonna come? There are many options, so I want to choose this one. And then, okay, I got some description about the event and just filter by protocol, and it goes like that. So there are other things that I want to improve on the next releases that are coming with Suricata. One of them is that for packets that have a payload, that you cannot be able to click in the row with the payload and then get the base 64 or the coded 60 base 64 payload on the screen, which is a binary, so I can see or get an idea maybe on X format, like what kind of data that can go across the network that's available. But this actually was like the very first application that I wrote for SuricataLog, and that was the origin of the whole thing. And then I started getting a little bit more features out here and there. And this was like the main use case. And then you have, of course, the trend report that I was telling you before. I was about to talk about the source code. And let me go to the slide. And I didn't tell me. Nice. So, to get the source code from Git, again, it's open source. The license is Apache. You don't have to pay anything for it. You can branch it. You can do whatever you want with it. Just the rules of open source applies, like you know, the share your work, contribute, and you know, make sure you're having fun while you're doing it. Installing it is very easy. You can just clone the Git repository. You can create a virtual environment that doesn't require privileges, activate it, build the build house, or get the installation in editable mode, and then you can run the unit test just to see what's going on. I'm gonna assume that some people that are watching this do not know what an editable mode is. It basically allows you to get an installation of a Python code and run it on your sandboxed environment, which is the virtual environment, without installing anything. So you can even make changes on the code, and the editable mode, what it does, it creates symbolic links to the right code, so you can do kind of like a hot editing. So you can make changes, run the code, see what works, what not, and actually that's very helpful because it reduces the development time. It's not like you have to compile it, install it, none of that. You only do this once, the editable mode, and then you go crazy and start making changes in the code, and that's it. Okay. So I want to show you a few things about the code. And well, the first one, so is the clone repository looks like this. It's very straightforward. I mean, it's Python code. I will show you the details. Oh, shoot, the size of the terminal. Control plus plus again. Oh, now I'm learning. Look at that. All right. It's all text files. I mean, if you have worked with Python before, you will see that this follows the same vanilla structure of a wheelhouse project. That means that if you go, let me make sure, you can just run again the editable mode, and you do something like this. Okay. And then basically, it's going to take care of finding the dependencies, open source the dependencies, and just put them in the right place, and you can actually just start it and play them. So while this is running, you know, it's definitely it's relatively safe that apparently internet is not happening there. I want to show you the code on the my editor. I have to ask you guys, how does it look? Does it look actually small or looks different? I'm using Python, by the way. The community edition.
It looks small for me.
Oh, okay, let's try and see if the trick. I know the trick for this.
There's the saying bad cop and good cop. I'm the annoying host.
Got it. You know what? I'm gonna do something different because I'm not sure how I can get this guy to display a PJ now. So I'm gonna just impose the lowest common denominator with 16. But that should look nicer. Right.
Yeah, that works.
Because I wanna get nice coloring, so not that long. Come on.
And this is very brave because having things work perfectly in real time is basically impossible. So
Yeah, I think it's a gamble, and just telling Bill that you know, I think it's gonna pay off. All right, so there you go. So at least we have some coloring and looks nice. So for anybody who's not familiar with the PyProject TOML format, what you do here is you define the structure of the project, the dependencies. I'm not gonna cover this in detail because it's not a tutorial about how to organize your code, but basically, I just wanna show you one of the libraries that allows this tool to be possible. It's called Textualize, and I'm gonna share the website shortly. It's an application or a framework that was developed by a cool software developer. His name is Will. He started his company around this, and his vision is that you can write text applications that behave no better than graphical applications running on the terminal. Now, the advantage of this is that you can run really nice looking applications that are just based on text on a terminal. The barrier or the entry barrier for your code is actually really low because text applications can run anywhere. And you can add a lot of functionality. And the framework is written in Python. Has a lot of features, how to test it, how to widgets, how you can add actually listen for events and do stuff like that. And I'm gonna show you quickly how does it work. Again, just before I move into the real code, but this is like 3 scripts that the project generates. One of them is the if_JSON, which is just the can report that you saw before, like for the payload and for the native graphic interface. The if_log, which is just the one that takes care of showing everything on a nice table that you can scroll and use a filter. And SuricataLog even allows you to run this on a window, on like a web server. So you can run it on a machine, and someone sitting across a different computer can go to your machine and see what you're seeing. And that way you can share with a coworker, for example, look what I found on Suricata today. I see this event, and then they don't need to install anything. They can just open the browser and go to your machine and see the web application running. Now, I wanna show you the basic structure of Suricata. I'm gonna probably take one of the smallest ones so we don't overcomplicate this. Okay, this is what I was doing. So for people that are not very familiar with Python, oh wait, you know what? The second I want to show is the point here. You know that there is also a way without going all fancy with JQ or all fancy with SuricataLog. You can actually just write a script, a Python script with 5 lines to show the contents formatted properly. So let me run this command here. I just call it simple because it's really trivial to write. And what it does is just goes through the log file and shows the contents with proper indentation. Now, yeah, that's probably not very useful, but if you see the code, you will get the idea that you don't need to learn another tool to see the contents of the if_JSON file. And even write a Perl script to get by or awk, whatever makes you happy and shows the data that you want to see. In the case of Python, it's very safe. It's yeah, 12 lines. Maybe 11 if you don't count the space here, right? So the way it works, you open in this case, I just open the file, the JSON file. The if.json is in a format called JSON lines, meaning that each message is self-contained and each line is a JSON properly formatted message. You don't want to load the whole thing in memory because depending if you rotate the if.json file or not, it makes it open your machine and run out of memory, or it won't work because the JSON expects a properly formatted file. So what you do is that you go line by line, you load it as a JSON from JSON, and then you get a proper Python data structure. This is a combination of array and dictionary, and then you have a utility called pretty print that is gonna just show the content very nicely indentated on the screen. And I just added just a slip here because I wanna be able to see long enough what chunk of the message I got and then move to the next one. But if you notice already here, if I'm looking for something in particular, I can get fancy and add, for example, a regular expression, like I get me something here and that can be included and execute the code. And I just need to import the dependency here, like import, not like that. And then just run it again. So you get the picture. It's like that. You don't really need to go heavy on the tools, just take advantage of Suricata. Coming back to Suricata, so the way Suricata works, SuricataLog works, is that with textualize, you extend a class called app, which is an application, and you can then add binding. Like for example, if you press the letter Q, it will quit right away. You can disable the search bar. Normally it's enabled, but if you don't need it, you can just get rid of it. And then, of course, the application comes with two very important methods. One of them is the compose method, and that's what we create with the system. And with the compose method, we basically create a header, and I'm creating a header here, then a table when I add a bunch of columns, and I add a footer, and that's it. That's my application. Then, when I am ready to populate my application with data, I implement or override a method called onMount. OnMount allows me to select the graphic elements that I created on the previous step, and then I can populate them with data that I'm getting from Suricata. In this case, if I am filtering, say, the payload, early one, I just open the file, integrate region of events, and I start populating my table here. And then I can react to some events. Say that I don't see any events, I can probably display an alert, and I can call a different method and do other fancy stuff. On top of that, if you notice, you can add some annotation, basically giving more power to the user interface. For example, if you wanna allow your table to be reactive, meaning that if you click the rows and you can get other actions to happen, you can define that with a data table header selected, and then you put your code, how you want to react to that on a method of your liking. You can call this Jose is actually a cool guy, and that will get called every single time that you click. But probably don't make that method. He's a better method. You get the picture. And in this case, what I'm doing, depending on what in this case, I just decided to just grab the header and sort the table based on that column key. Very, very simple. I didn't want to get that fancy, but still, it's a nice feature. Like you can click and actually text in the data center by different criteria. You can also bind the shortcuts to actions. In this case, I defined a method called quit, and the only thing that does is just tell the application of the framework loop. The user wants to tap out, let him out of here. That's everything. And just before moving to other stuff, I just want to show you that the code is divided into several mini modules. Some of them deal with filtering the data, and give that common functionality to all the other applications. Some others deal with logging, especially with the timestamp. That's one thing that I discovered the hard way, because when I started working on SuricataLog, I was using Suricata version 6. The timestamp version changed a little bit on version 7 and 8, and then my application went bananas, because Python was trying to do a comparison of timestamps without a time zone, which is called naive timestamps, versus timestamps with a time zone, and it didn't like it. So I made it work to be both backward compatible, but if you want to look into that logic, you probably will find it into this module called log.py. And finally, the canned reports, I just put them into this module for canned, and I have some logic that's common for each one of the special log, special reports that I wanted to mimic from the documentation. Probably I will add more interesting stuff here. But if you're kind of curious to see how I was trying to retrofit the same logic that we have on JQ, this is the best. This is the place to look. Again, so in this particular case, it's just doing Python code. It's one annotation explaining that type of data goes over that. It's what not to run to be able to reduce the logic across all these tiny applications. The code comes with the unit test, so you can run it and see what happens when the code is actually passing all the unit tests. You can add your own. Also, Textualize has a cool feature that allows you to mimic running applications, so you can simulate closing, opening windows, and stuff like that. So you just not just test the modules, but also you can test the application. So everything is inside here. So I encourage you to take a look and see. I believe it's on the test mini app. And you can take a look and see how it goes. Okay. Going to remember what else is important. The application doesn't use threads. I use mostly async to get the data. The reason is that the model is very simple and you only run an asynchronous task, wait for the data, and then move on. And in the case of SuricataLog, everything is mostly IO bounded, meaning that it's just reading data from disk or some location and then massaging the data a little bit. There is no CPU intensive skill that justifies going hardcore using threads and dealing with the complexities of threads like locking and race conditions and stuff like that. So, but it can be done, especially with the text interface is something that they explain you with the documentation how to do it. But I didn't have the means to do that. I want to share. I think it's on the slide, but you can see the documentation for textualize. You go to textualize it higher, and you put this link on the chart. Here. There you go.
And then I'll share with everyone because I think you can only share with panelists.
Oh,
Thanks for sharing so much information. We have reached the top of the hour, but
Oh, wow.
since we interrupted you a few times, we've decided to give you a bit more room to finish your presentation.
got it.
Do you
Then I
have
will-
a lot more?
one more
Okay.
thing, and then it's literally the last slide. So let me do that, and then we should be good.
Okay.
So what's
So
coming
let's-
next for SuricataLog? I am aware that the code is not efficient handling large files. It depends on how often you rotate the logs. But if you get a several terabyte file, the code is not going to handle that gracefully because it's reading everything and trying to show you everything. So our next release probably is going to use a shared memory, which means that I'm going to open just a chunk of the file or whatever I can see or show the users on the screen, and then move that sliding window so I can just deal with one part of the data at a time. So that also is going to make the application faster and also more memory efficient. Of course, since the time I wrote the bug fixes and this presentation, Textualize move a lot, and they release a lot of cool fixes, especially copying and pasting data from the terminal, which is something I want to put in place. And you can see the JSON there, but what if I want to just copy and paste a chunk of the JSON? The new version allows you to do that very nicely. On purpose, I don't want to use create a web interface because there are other projects that are already doing that. And also, if you're already trying to get a web interface or something more advanced, you are already thinking about getting those logs, not from a single Suricata log, Suricata machine, sorry, but many of them, put them into storage and then write an application that can go and query that data and tell you something with the Asana, something with the Elasticsearch. I mean, there are many options. SuricataLog is simple on purpose because you're gonna go, inspect the data, have some fun with it, see some patterns, and then move on. And I want to be able to install this quickly. I didn't mention it here, but maybe there is interest on that I could probably write a Docker container that you can just download and run it without even run a virtual environment. And I think I should put it together. It's very easy to do. That way you can forget about the virtual environments and just do Docker run, blah, 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 and have SuricataLog showing the content for you. And finally, maybe localization. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that there is other people that speak more than one language out there. I'm bilingual myself, so if anybody wants to speak Latin Español, let me know. And Portuguese and the on. We can work together and add localization on the application. But again, it's like on demand. If nobody cares about that, I mean, that's okay. And that's it. Sorry about the long presentation. I thought I had the time under control.
No worries. We interrupted you quite a lot, so it's on us as well. And
There are any questions? Do you have time for questions? So
no, not this time. I think when we go hard on the developer stuff, people get shy. It's normal. Unless you have threat hunting stuff, we usually don't get as many questions. But I think that this is a very good webinar, especially for people who are starting to use Suricata. So I'm glad we have recorded it, and I hope that even with the technical difficulties with the audio, I still hope that people will be able to follow. Is your presentation over?
Yes, like, basically the last slide is just saying like how the project started. What's the presentation? And you know, let's do it the right way. Now that it works. And it started with a tutorial. Literally, there is a site called Free Code Camp that they write documentation free of charge for people that they want to learn how to code or learn how to use applications, not just like basic applications, but literally like machine learning, I mean, algorithms, you name it. And people volunteer and they write the articles and they share it with everybody. So I thought, once I wrote the code and I started using it for myself, like kind of like eating my own dog food, I thought maybe someone would like to see something like this, especially that can run on a Raspberry Pi, or you can run it wherever you want, because it's so low use of. And if it tries to now the application, if I believe the counter that I put on the application, so far 17,000 people have downloaded the application. So I'm hoping that's true, and it's not just like my mom or my dad clicking that link over and over, you know. But it's exciting. I mean, people actually like it, and even if they don't intend to use it as is, they can see how I did things, and they can actually do it better, and they can submit patches like, hey, I mean, you're definitely out of track. You should be doing this or whatever. But that dynamic is what makes writing code, especially open source applications, interesting. And the Suricata community, they've been like really, really, really cool. That's one of the reasons I wanted to apply and actually have a chance to share this with everybody.
Well, thanks for sharing. If you could also share that link for the Suricata on the Raspberry Pi tutorial, then we can share with everyone. I've actually also translated one such tutorial long ago from French, and I've shared as part. I think I did it during my internship. I don't remember, but it's always good to have such resources. So to everyone who is still with us, I will just ask you, Jose, to stop the screen sharing so I can share a few last words, and then we will be wrapping this up.
All right. So I share the link, and I also release the screen finally.
Nice, good.
It's all yours.
So, thank you. This should be, there it is. So, quick words before we wrap this up for good. As we've mentioned today already, this year we are celebrating our 10th SuricCon. It will be in Spain, in Madrid. We will have 3 days packed with talks, not just developer stuff, but there will be developer stuff because we like that type of content. We will have also before the conference 2 days with 3 different trainings. The trainings each are full 2-day trainings, so do check our suricon.net agenda. You will be able to register for the trainings if you want. You will be able to register for SuricCon itself. We do have the option to register for online attendance for the conference only. If you cannot join us live in SuricCon, we would miss you, but we know not everyone can. And if you register for SuricCon, you get a 20% off any of the training sessions that you choose. So that is a great deal. If you can join us from November 11th to November 15th, that would be awesome. We can't believe we've reached 10 SuricCons, and we are very happy to celebrate this moment. If you are not part of our online community yet, you know that Jose says it's amazing, so I will not say it. We can check our forum for questions, forum.suricata.io, or join our Discord for anything chat related. stay tuned, because although the webinars are over for this pre-SuriCon moment, next month we will be having 2 Suricata roadmap discussions. These we usually also hold during SuriCon, but we decided to also have something before it. So if you cannot join us in Madrid, you would also be able to take part in those. So we will be soon sharing a registration link, and there will be 2 options with basically the same discussions, just so we cover a broader array of time zones. And that's it for today, folks. Thanks a lot, whoever stayed until the very end. We are very excited for this moment, and we are thankful for having someone so excited about Suricata and about developing cool tools to go along with it. That's it. Thanks. I think we have a successful webinar, even though we had some technical difficulties. And